Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing playlist, Philosophical Ponderings, where we take a look at more of the meta underpinnings of a particular game and how that kind of feels to us. Today we're taking a look at Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, released for the PlayStation 4 by the Chinese Room, the makers of Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, which is also a very incredible and deep story game. The basic premise of this is you are an unnamed protagonist, and you are exploring a town where everyone is seemed to have gone missing in 1984 England. But the reality is, there is not much game to this game. It is a walking simulator, and that is the best way to describe it because you absolutely do nothing except walk and listen. Yet the world that the story inhabits is incredible. You get a lot of deep story, a lot of meaning, and a lot of confusion as to what actually may have happened. The story does a great job of kind of leading you along a path and making you think that maybe something happened, and then really changing up exactly what the story may be. But it really is just a story of human connection and how people and their relationships inform what they do for their day-to-day life, and how those struggles, trials, tribulations, loves, and everything like that kind of dictate how they function as humans in society. Now that might be a little deep, but as far as the story is concerned, it is an absolutely beautiful told story. It is a great game, even if there isn't much gameplay to be spoken of, and I definitely recommend everyone check this out. But the premise is, for some reason, everyone's gone missing, and we're trying to discover why, in fact, that happened. And you find out through these flashbacks in story. You get characters that pop in, pop out, and in the gameplay, you're basically investigating the storyline of a certain person, and that person changes throughout the game. So in some events, you might be looking for Jeremy, the first person that you're going to encounter in the game, and try to understand where their story went. But then as the game continues, you're going to search for other characters and try to understand what happened to them. Basically, it's like a pandemic story, and I understand that right now that's a sensitive topic, but it is what the game is about. But what the pandemic was, what caused it, and how it was solved in the end is really the overall story. But as far as the voice acting is concerned, the art style, everything goes really well to inform the overall world that Everyone's Gone to the Rapture does take place in. And as you see during these flashbacks, suddenly the sky changes. You have this burst of stars up there. And when you encounter new characters, sometimes the shadows will wildly dart across the screen, the sun will set and rise, and it's like an entire day has elapsed in the course of 10 in-game seconds. I think that's something that the game does a really good job portraying, is kind of the passage of time in these characters' lives. Because while there is this overarching storyline of the rapture, everyone going missing, the world ending, it's actually a very small story that deals with the interpersonal relationships between the inhabitants of the town and how their struggles kind of just build on the larger issue. It kind of marries the narrative of the small scale struggles and issues that we all have in our daily lives to the overall larger picture of what's going on in the world. And currently right now, while recording this, is the COVID-19 pandemic, so it is quite interesting. But listen to this, it gives you a little more story, and I'll be back in a second.
We need to shut down the optical array. It's using the observatory as a conduit to reach us, and it's started spreading its range beyond the valley. Kate, we can't afford to let it do that. It's getting stronger. I'm going to call Clive back, and I'm going to force him to order the strike. I just don't see what other choice we have. God knows
Hello,
if
can you hear me? We need help.
Who are you? Jesus, get off the phone! Get off the phone! It's in the phone!
What we discover from that little bit of dialogue is something is traveling through the phone lines, which means that as far as the town is concerned, it is all interconnected, and they are ground zero for whatever's happening. But the question is it really the rapture, or is it something different? And that's something that the story kind of brings to us as we move along. What we get here is just a little snippet of the lives of the people that are working at the observatory, their concerns. Even though they're some of the most intelligent people around, they almost have imposter syndrome where they don't feel like they're appreciated or they're smart enough compared to their colleagues, which I think something as far as like a life experience is. I mean, I've been a filmmaker for 17 years, but when I start a new job, I still the night before have that fear of, am I good enough? Will they discover I'm not the right person for this? And that's something that I think a lot of people experience, and the game does a really good job showing us and telling us, which is that even though these people are doctors, they've got their PhDs, they still have the doubts and issues in life that everybody may have. But the story doesn't really give us all that information to start, because what you see here first is that there's quarantine signs on the door, and if we go to the local pub, we're going to see a sign about people having caught the flu. And I definitely chose this game just for the time and place that we currently inhabit, because it is very informative in how it feels, because this game right now feels very dynamic and something that's actually occurring. And that's why I wanted to come back and play it, because the story feels that much more impactful versus when I played this with my wife years and years ago. But even when I did play it back then, I came to realize that the story in this game is absolutely incredible, and the Chinese Room does an amazing job at giving us really great story along with solid gameplay. Now, Amnesia Machine for Pigs definitely has more gameplay in it, because it is a puzzle-solving horror game where everyone's kind of the Rapture. You literally just walk forward and listen, but the story is so engrossing that it really doesn't need much gameplay to go along with it. What we're finding out in this scene is that whatever knocked over that paint can was able to make a symbol on the ground. So whatever entity is causing the Rapture is able to interact with the world around it and affect change. So it kind of gives us a little bit of flavor text as far as what the monster in air quotes is doing in this game. It's making people disappear, it's infecting them, they're going off into the night sky. But it does have an ability to actually change the world around it. So when they first thought it was a quarantine or a flu, we come to find out that something got loose in the observatory. Something came from the sky, and it is causing people to go missing. And if you look closely at the screen, you will see that there's some distortion effects. Something in the world is changing all around itself. The world is literally coming apart at the seams in places if you look closely enough. But what you do find out is the start, at least, of the Rapture does cause some physical effects to the humans around them, and that results in them bleeding from the ears, from the eyes, and from the mouth. So whatever it is that is doing this, it does affect them physically. But you get these nice touches, these sort of maudlin scenes of suitcases and a child's teddy bear left behind. And if you're a child and you have that prized possession, or even as an adult if you have that, it definitely hits and tells you what it would feel like to lose that prized item of yours. But go ahead and just get a little bit more story here, and I'll come back and we'll close out with Everyone's Gone to the Rapture.
The village looks up to you. I just think with what's been happening with Mr. Coles and Mrs. Boughton and the others, that people need somewhere to talk, to feel safe.
Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. It's not my judgment you should be worried about, Father.
So what we see here is the town inhabitants have these complex personal relationships with one another. Some of them get along, some of them hate each other, some of them are in love triangles. And having grown up in a small town, I will say that everyone knows each other, and that is something that does happen. What we're finding out through the radio here is we're getting flashbacks of the story, and we're finding out that whatever is affecting the town residents is in the phone lines, and it's in the electrical lines. It's that unseen nightmare that haunts everybody. The idea that something that you can't see, that you can't touch, could affect your life in a very crazy way, which is very appropriate for our current situation. But coming into this little apartment here, this house, you kind of get a little bit more flavor text and story about what's actually happening. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop talking once we get to the next scene, and then I will close the video out when it's done there, but you're really going to get a firm understanding of how everything is affected in this world when we go through that door. So enjoy that, and I'll be back in just a second.
Hello? Hello? Oh, Amanda, I thought you'd left town.
We tried. We did try. But they've closed all the roads and you can't get through. And then Georgie and Ben said they had headaches. And then they started bleeding. And it was horrible. They were so scared. So Neil turned the car around and we saw the house was open, and I know we shouldn't have, but we just came in to clean up the kids, and then Neil and I started bleeding as well, and it's all over my blouse. Everyone was so tired.
It's all right, Amanda. Everything will be all right. Just try and calm down and tell me where Neil and the children are.
They're upstairs. They were tired, and Neil said they could take a nap in the bed, and we thought Barbara wouldn't mind as they're only children, and I was so tired, so Neil took them up. He took them upstairs to tuck them in.
And?
That was 6 hours ago. He never came back down. Just be too frightened to go and look.
Why don't we go and look together? I can hold your hand if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I could manage that, yes. Will you please help me?
Of course I'll help you. Neil? Neil, are you there?
And that is Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. It's a large story and a small story all at the same time, dealing with the end of the world, along with these small personal relationship issues that everyone has in their lives. I can't highly recommend this game enough. You should definitely download it and play it. I think it's only $20, so it's definitely worth your time. But as far as the philosophical underpinnings of the game, it's just an exploration of how humans interact with one another, even in the end times, how their small relationship issues still inform who they are, and the fact that they can't drop those issues to work on the bigger picture around them. But we definitely hope you're enjoying this series so far. We'll be back on Friday with another episode in our Technicality series, as well as Sunday, but we'll be back next Tuesday with a brand new game, talking about more of the philosophical aspects of gaming. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.